Hi guys, so I want to show you today how I make this v-neck cardigan for a baby. It doesn't have to be for a baby, but you will have to get your own sizes because I only have sizes for up to 12 months. But you can find them on Google or Pinterest or wherever. It is full of them, and I will show you later on which ones we're gonna need. And this is really quite simple. These are mostly double crochets, a little bit of single crochets, and I think we're gonna use something like 10 half double crochets and some slip stitches. Other than that, I have used free colors. I will use free colors again. You don't have to use colors. It can be one color or it can be 15 colors. It's all up to you. So really quite simple, as I said. I think any beginner can do this. So this is the collar. And it looks really quite cute. Like if you're looking to make a vest, you can just skip the sleeves and do the bottom right here, the same pattern, and you are going to have a vest, a really lovely one. So I think I showed you enough now, and we can get started on what we're gonna need. So the first and one of the most important things that we are gonna need is yarn. I have a double knit or DK yarn, which is pretty much the same as lightweight free in the US, or maybe up to medium free weight yarn. And I have colors cream, terracotta, and a light blue. I will do the edges and the bottom in light blue. This is going to be my middle color, and I will do terracotta on the top. Now you don't have to use colors at all. You can use one if you want for the whole cardigan, or whatever you like. You can use two, or like I said, 15. So these are my colors. You don't have to use the same yarn. Use the one you have or the one that you like. Because we will be measuring our cardigan throughout making it, it doesn't matter. You don't have to have the same yarn as I do. And okay, so yarn. Next is the hook. I will be using a 4mm hook, or I believe it's an F size. It has to match your yarn. If your yarn is thicker, you will be using a bigger hook. So this is mine. Then we will definitely need a measuring tape. It's very important. Now I will be crocheting my cardigan in centimeters. This is what I use and I'm used to. My measuring tape has inches on the other side. And the measurements that I will be showing you, the ones that I have, are in centimeters as well. So, like I said, you can find them in inches, or on Google or Pinterest, wherever. It's really, there's a whole lot of them in there. So measuring tape is very important. We are gonna need some buttons. I have 3 cute buttons. We will need a few, probably something like 5 stitch markers. And what else? We're gonna need a needle, scissors, and we're gonna need measurements. And if you have a piece of paper, this is very useful to make a little plan for yourself, so you don't have to go back and forth looking for measurements. I will show them throughout the video, but it's always easier to make yourself a little drawing. It doesn't have to be very beautiful. It's just so you can take this and have a look. Okay, I know what I'm doing now. So these are the measurements that I have, and like I said, I have it up to 12 months. And the measurements that we're gonna need is the head circumference. We will need a chest measurement for the finished cardigan. Now this is quite important, as if you will be looking for your own measurements, some of the charts do not have an ease on the chest. It will just say chest, and it might be an actual chest measuring for the child, and it doesn't have any ease on it. So the cardigan would be lying on it as, let's say, a t-shirt or something really tight. So you kind of have to do a little bit of research. So as you can see, I have put on as a finished for the finished cardigan. So these are the measurements that have a little bit extra space in there for the baby. So then we're gonna need a yoke height, sleeve length. We don't need waist. We need we sort of need upper arm and wrist just to make sure that our sleeve is not too small or way too big for us. And I think that's it. So what I'm gonna do, you can have a look if you want, like this. I'm going to make a size 3 to 6 months, this one, and I have the whole row of measurements that I'm gonna use. I'm gonna make a little plan, which I would say if you can do it as well. So I will start with the chest measurement, and I have 48 centimeters for the whole cardigan all the way around. As this is a drawing and I only have the front part drawn, I will do this line here with a little arrows, and this is only going to be a half. So I write down 24 centimeters. This is just the half of my chest measurement for the finished cardigan. Then I'm going to look for the yoke height. So I need about 11 centimeters. Now you can do more, but this is the minimum so that it would be comfortable for the baby. So this is going to be a little what do I say? Oops, sorry. So this is a part that we are going to measure for the yoke height. You see the holes? And I'm just going to write down 11 centimeters. I might be doing more. Then what we're gonna need is the sleeve length. So I look up the sleeve length for the size that I'm making. It's about 16 centimeters. And I'm just gonna draw down the line about 16 centimeters. And then the cardigan length. Now there's hardly any chart that will say how long your cardigan should be. It is a little bit up to you how long you want it. What I normally do is, depending on the design on the cardigan and the sort of a cardigan that I'm making, I normally look up at the sleeve length and I sort of plan ahead, and I want this one to be slightly shorter than the sleeve. So I'm gonna make it about 15 centimeters long from under the armhole. So my sleeve will be about 16 and this will be my 15 centimeters. It might not work out. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but it's sort of nice to have a plan. And I mean, I won't be making it much longer than that anyway. I will try to keep it as close to this number as I can. Okay, so this is what we need for now. And the next thing that we can do now is we can try and because I'm going to make it in 3 colors, it's sort of have to have a little plan on how much you're gonna make in one color, and then in the next and in the third, as I want them to be about the same length, the every color change. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add up my yoke height, which is about 11 centimeters, and I will add the 15 centimeters for the cardigan length, which will be, let me see, 26 centimeters. As I'm using 3 colors, I'm going to divide that by 3, and what I'm going to get about 8.5, I think. Something like that. So this is about the length in one color. So let's say my first color will be finishing somewhere here. I am hoping it to be about 8.5 centimeters. The next color will be about here. The same, about 8.5 if I can. And at the bottom, I will see what I end up with. I'm hoping to be about the same length as here. So this is how I do my colors as well. And I'm sorry for talking a lot. I just want to make sure that we sort of have some sort of a plan with going ahead. So this is it. I will let you have a look at the sizes. Oh yes, I'm just going to write down now the actual head measurement for the size that I'm making. You do exactly the same. We need the actual head circumference. So, oops, sorry about that. Oh. So I write down head is 40.5 centimeters for me. You do, oh, it's not writing anymore. Okay, so you do the same, whichever size that you are making, just write that down because we need this measurement for making the starting chain. And like I said, have a look, write down if you need. If not, go on to Google or something and find your own ones. And we can get started on it straight after we have our plan done. Okay, so we're gonna start with figuring out how long our starting chain should be. So this is where the head measurement comes in. Whichever head measurement you have, however big or small it is, I have 40.5 centimeters for the 3 to 6 months, and we take away about 5 centimeters or 2 inches from it. So I take away 5 centimeters and I get about a 35.5 centimeters. That is the length of my starting chain. I will try to keep it as close as I can, and I will be counting the chains as I go along, and I will be measuring the length of it. Now, when making it, we need to figure out which yoke, this is I have counted that out, which of these we will need to use. Now, in pink colors is the amount of chains that you are gonna get in that length that you need for. So I try not to confuse you now. I'm just gonna make a slip knot. I know the length that I need to make, and I can see the numbers in the pink, and I need to get my amount of chains closest to one of these numbers, and it still has to be as close as I can to this measurement. So I'm gonna start chaining. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I will keep going. I'll keep counting, and I will be measuring the length of it as I go. And I will meet you when I have the starting chain done. Okay, so I did my starting chain. If you see here, I measure it from the beginning and just give it a tiny little pull. And I end up about 35 centimeters with this tiny little bit short, but it's okay because this is the closest number that is going to be to that length. You see, 56 chains measure about the length of what I need. So you should do exactly the same. Have a look at these numbers. You can pause if you need to, and whichever one is the closest to the length that you need, we're going to write that down in a second. So I got 56 chains, and I'm going to do a little bit of drawing of my yoke like this, and I'm going to write down all the numbers except for the front. Because it is a v-neck, we are gonna have to do our starting chain again. I'll explain you everything in just a second. First of all, these are going to be my corners. Just do this, and I write down 1 at each of them. So like this. Then I'm going to look up the sides. These are going to be over the shoulder or the sleeve parts. So I have 10 on each side, 10 and 10. I have 16 for the back, which is just fine. And if I would be making a square yoke, I would have 8 and 8 for the front. But as it is a v-neck, our yoke will start and finish here at the very, very first corner. And we're just going to give it we're going to leave 1 chain for each front part. And then we're gonna do some increases, and we will get a V-neck here instead of a square. So you only leave one, whatever size you're making, you just leave one chain for the two front parts. Now we need to add everything up. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 chains for the corners. I have 16 for the back, so I have 16 plus 4 plus 10, and 10 is 20, and 1 is 2. And we add them all up. We just need to do a little change on our yoke. So I have, let me count that. So I have 20, 40, 42 chains for my V-neck. Remember, this will be starting here, our yoke, instead of a normal square yoke, but we do need all these measurements for it anyway. We just do our front slightly different. So this is going to be my V-neck. You have a look, write them down if you need. Do exactly as I did, whichever number. Look, whichever number you have, let's say I would have gotten this size. Whichever number is in the front, you just leave 1. Instead of 12, I would have 1 and 1 on each side, because this is a V-neck. So write down, have a look, pause it if you need to. And I'm going to take my chain apart, because this is too much now here. We just needed to figure out which counting of the yoke we need for it. I'm gonna throw down my measuring tape, and I'm going to chain 42. Now I do advise you to do a little bit of your own drawing of the yoke. So I'm gonna chain 42. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I will keep going until I have my 42 chains. Okay, so I have my new number, the 42 chains. I hope you understood what I did here. And you should have your little picture in front of you. And we have 1 chain for the front. Now we need to do an increase straight away. So this is our first chain. So what we do, we add 2 more chains. So we do 1 and 2. We yarn over and we do a double crochet now into the 3rd chain from the hook. So chain 1, chain 2, and chain 3. The number 3 chain gets a double crochet. So we start with an increase straight away. Then next is my corners straight away. So what I do, I go into the next chain and I'm gonna do a double crochet, 2 chains, and a double crochet back into the same stitch. Like this. We made a V for the corner. So next is our over the shoulder or the sleeve part, which I have 10 chains or 10 double crochets for it. You might have a different number depending on which yoke you had. So I'm just doing my one. So I have 10. Yarn over and I do 10 double crochets into the next 10 chains. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. This is done now. And then I have my second corner. Second corner is exactly the same as any other corner. It is a double crochet, 2 chains, and a double crochet into the same chain, like this. Then I have my back of the neck part, which is 16. And I start making 16 double crochets along the chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I will keep going until I have my 16. 16 done. I have my corner, which I do exactly the same as any other corner. Into the next chain, it's a double crochet, 2 chains, and a double crochet. And we go along, and I have 10, exactly the same as I had for the other over the shoulder. I have 10, and I keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And now at this point, any size that you are making, once you do that part of the cardigan, of the over the shoulder, the last one, you should have 2 chains left. So the next one is our corner, and we do a double crochet, 2 chains, and a double crochet into the same chain. And the very last one that we have, we do an increase, and it is 2 double crochets into the very last. We should only have 1 at the end of it. And I do 2 double crochets. And so at this point, don't need this anymore. And this is how it looks like. You see? And these 2 parts in the front will keep increasing. At some point, it will get to the same length as the back. So row number 2 is like this, and all rows from now on will start the same. So we do 2 chains, so 1 chain and 2 chains. We turn around and we do a double crochet right into that very first stitch under the chain 2. And this is our increase. We count the chain 2 as 1 double crochet, and then we have 2 all in that first stitch. Then just do 1 double crochet into each stitch until we get to our corner, like this. Then in the corner we do a double crochet right into that middle of that hole, and then 2 chains, and then a double crochet. After the corner, we just do 1 double crochet in each stitch until we get to the next corner. This is my last stitch before the corner, and here it is. And I'm gonna do a double crochet, 2 chains, and a double crochet. And then we keep going with 1 double crochet in each stitch. Corners is the same as it has been before. So at this point, I'm gonna make this, and I'm gonna meet you at the end here, and I will show you where we have to do the increase to keep increasing our V-neck, so it gets that nice V. So do exactly the same all the way to the very end of this row. Okay, so I did my last corner on the row 2, and as you can see, I have 1, 2 stitches left and the chain 2 that we did in the very beginning. So that chain 2 will always get 2 double crochets for an increase in the very, very front and the very end. So I just make 1 double crochet into the 2 stitches that I have, and I have my chain 2, which I will do like into the top of the 2 chains. So this is the first chain and the second. Into the top of that chain I will do 2 double crochets. So 1 and 2. We will be increasing in the very last stitch and in the very first stitch, pretty much all the way through until we get what we need, which I will show you later. So, and then again, chain 2, 1 and 2, we turn around and we do an increase straight away into the very first stitch, the same where the chain 2 is. So we do another double crochet, and we do then 1 double crochet into each stitch, and then it is the corner. We do a double crochet, chain 2 and a double crochet, and then again every stitch gets 1 double crochet. We do the corners, and I will meet you again at the end of row 3, and I will show you once again where the last 2 double crochets go in this row, which is exactly the same into the top of that chain 2 that we made in the beginning. So just like that. Okay, and I'm at the end of row 3. I have 2 more stitches, 1 and 2. And once you run out of stitches, you have the chain 2 that was made in the very beginning, and we make 2 double crochets into the top of that chain. So an increase in the very end. So 1 and 2. And then it's always the same. Chain 2, turn around, and then a double crochet back in the same chain. And then after that, it's 1 double crochet into each stitch, the corners, and we can see now that our V will be starting to form. So if you look at it like that, you see our 2 corners are making the V now. So, and we keep going. Now, how much we should make? It will depend on the length of our yoke. So I will make this yoke, and then I will come back to you and I will show you what we are looking for to know that we are finished with it. And the 2 things that we need to look out for once we're making is measuring that color that you made if you're making color changes. There's my my color changes will be about 8.5 centimeters long each color. So 3 rows is about 4 centimeters for me, as you can see. So I have a bit more to do before a color change. So that is one thing that we have to look out for. The second thing that we have to look out for is count the stitches in the back. Once in a while you will have to do that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. I have 22 stitches at the back at the moment, and then I count the front. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on one side. So I should have 7 on the other side, which is 14. Now we're going to stop increasing the yoke in the front once we have how do I say this? Okay, because where's my cardigan? Because we have this, these are 5 rows of single crochets. We have to leave the front shorter than the back. So the front here, if you put these 2 numbers together, will have to be 4 stitches shorter than the amount of stitches in the back. So like I said, whichever I get to first, if it's a color change or my yoke is long enough, or once I sort of catch up with the back, I will stop and I will turn on the video and I will show you what it is that we are going to do next. But for now, keep an eye on the length of the yoke, the color change, and the amount of stitches that is in the back and in the front. Like I said, we will leave a gap here. The back will have 4 stitches more than our front. So I hope I didn't confuse you too much. Sorry about that. Okay, so I am at the point now where I have to stop increasing in the front. It will have a little gap here. The front will be 4 stitches shorter than the back. Now, how do you count that? If you just count from that corner and start counting your stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So both of these, one has 11 and the other one has 11. So that is 22 stitches in the front now. And then you count your back stitches, the same from one corner to the other. I have 26. So there's 4 stitches more in the back than in my front. Like I said, we need to keep a gap here because our edging here on the sides will be very thick. That will create our roll back collar. So you should do the same, and then when you stop increasing, we stop increasing in the very front and the very end. We don't do 2 double crochets here and here. We're only gonna do 1. So we're gonna start with chain 1, doesn't count as a stitch. We turn around and we do 1 double crochet back into that same stitch. We do a double crochet. And now we just do 1 double crochet into each stitch. And the same in the corners and everything. We just stop increasing in the front and on the back. And now if you look closely, this is where our last stitch is going to go. We're not going to do a stitch in that chain 1. So you see, just nice little V's or whatever you call them. And this is my last one. So we're not going to do any more in there, otherwise we will keep increasing. And then we do 1 double crochet, and I will meet you at the very back here. Oh, sorry, it went all blurry. I will meet you back here, and I will show you where the last stitch is going to stop increasing it as well. Okay, so I'm at the end of that row where we stop increasing in the front and in the back. I have 2 more stitches left. One is a real stitch that you can see. So 1. And the last one is the chain 2 from the previous row where we put only 1 double crochet into that because we are stopping the increase. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark this row, as this is the last row of my increase, and this is where my collar is really going to start on both sides. Like, you don't have to mark it if you can remember that this is the row, but I will do that. It will just make it a little bit easier for me. So I know that my collar will start right here. Okay, then the 2 things that we are left to look out for is the color change if you're doing that, and the yoke height. So my yoke height will be about 11 centimeters, and I just measure that, and I have about 8.5, which is about, I think, 2 or 3 rows away from connecting. And I look at my length of the color that I have made. So I have just over 7 centimeters, and I want each color to be about 8.5 centimeters long. So the next row is going to be the last one for me in this color, and I will do a color change. So we're just starting now, as we're not doing any more increases. We just do a chain 1 and turn around, and we do a double crochet back into that same stitch, and we will just keep going and do as we did before that, and I will actually come back to you at the end of this row and I will show you how I change my colors if you need that. So, but other than that, we do everything exactly the same. Okay, I am going to do my color change now. Now at this point I can show you as well where the last stitch should go. As we are not increasing anymore, well, you might be increasing, but I'm not, just into that small stitch in the very front. Now at this point I have stopped increasing, so my cardigan should be going straight, not on the kind of increasing anymore, but straight down, and you will have this, you see it's tiny little corner, and then you will be going right down. So I'm gonna change my colors. I'll show you how I do that. I'm gonna chain one and I'm gonna cut my yarn. I'm gonna leave a little bit of the tail, and I'm gonna get my, I'm gonna pull that hook out. I am going to get my next color, which is cream. I'm gonna make a slip knot, and I'm going to join the same stitch. I go back into it, I catch my slip knot, I pull it out, I chain one, and I turn around. As we're not going to do the increases anymore, I will just do a double crochet right back into the same stitch. I'm trying to show you because it's under the knot now, and I'm just gonna crochet over those two strands of yarn for a few stitches. Just one double crochet into each stitch for a few stitches, and then I'm just gonna leave them back, and I'm going to keep going. I'm gonna do another row, I believe, and I will be at my yoke height that I will be ready to connect this. Just let me check. So I'm looking for a minimum of 11 centimeters for my yoke height. So I have, what do I have? I have about 9 centimeters now. This row is going to add another centimeter and a half. So after I make this row, I will start connecting the yoke. Right, so I am at the point where I have almost finished my yoke. There will be another row where we will be connecting we will be doing the under the sleeves here, a chain maybe if we need a bit more space for the chest, but it will add another row worth of length to our yoke. So for the moment, I look up my measurements and I can see that my yoke should be no shorter than 11 centimeters. You might have a different number depending on the size that you are making. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna measure from the corner here to the corner here. So as you can see, I have about 10 centimeters, maybe a tiny little bit over 10 centimeters. So the next row that we're gonna do is going to add me another little bit of length, which I will get my 11 centimeters that I need. So the next row will finish that for me. Now one more thing before we start connecting our yoke is we need to find out if we need to do any chains for under the armhole. And this is where we measure the back of our cardigan from one corner to the other. Like that. We're gonna measure this. We'll look up our chest measurement, whichever one you are making. I'm making this, so it's 48 centimeters all the way around. But as I'm going to measure only a half of it, I'm getting my little plan. I have 24 centimeters. I need 24 centimeters for one half. Let's say this is the back half. So I put my measuring tape from one corner to another, and I actually have my, I am missing 2 centimeters for the length. I'm sorry, I just got a bit excited. So you see I have 22 from one corner to the other, and I need 24, which means I need to put chains from under the arms, under the armholes on both sides. So let's see, I'm missing 2 centimeters. So what I can do to figure out how many chains I need to do, because it's going to have the same double crochet crochets there, I'm gonna put my measuring tape starting at one of the double crochets, and I'm going to see how many stitches fit into my 2 centimeters. So as you can see, 1, 2, and 3 stitches fit into these 2 centimeters for me that I'm missing. So 1, 2, and 3. Well, it would be maybe a bit 3.5, but I will do 3. So 1, 2, 3 into 2 centimeters that I'm missing. And I'm gonna put 3 chains under both arms. And that's how my chest measurement is going to work out. Now you might have to put 2 or 5, or you might not have to put any. Like if you have enough for the chest measurement, you will have to do 1 chain there anyway. It will be easier for the sleeves, for us to make the sleeves. So I know at this point that I need to put 3 chains from under both arms. It has to be the same amount of chains. So what I'm going to do, I have already chained 1. I'm gonna do double crochets, 1 double crochet into each stitch until I get to my very first corner, just like that. Okay, so I double crocheted all the way to my very first corner, just to one side now, and I'm gonna make a 1 double crochet into that corner stitch. I'm gonna do my 3 chains that I'm missing for the length. So I'm gonna do 1, 2, and 3. I'm gonna find my next corner. Make sure it's not twisted. Just gonna find the next corner, and I'm gonna do a double crochet right into that corner. And then I'm gonna keep going with the double crochets, 1 into each stitch, and I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side, because we have to have the same amount of chains if you're doing any right under the arm. So do exactly the same on that side. The other under the sleeve part, the other side of the sleeve is exactly the same. Double crochet, 1, 2, 3, same amount of chains. Find the other side and double crochet in it. And then just keep going with 1 double crochet into each stitch until you get to the end. Chain 1, turn around, and then chain 1, turn around, and come back to this place here, and I will show you how to crochet into those chains that we did for under the arm. Okay, so I'm almost at the chains. I still have 1 stitch left. I'm gonna do a double crochet, and these are my chain 3 under the armhole. So what I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna crochet just into that hole. I'm gonna go into the middle of that chain and do 1 double crochet into each of them. So I had 3 chains, I get to do 3 double crochets. And then it is just 1 double crochet into each chain, into each stitch all the way around, and then all we need to do is work up our length of the cardigan. And you see, this is how it looks like at the moment. As I have stopped increasing, my 2 sides are going straight down, and it has quite a big gap, which we will fill in with the edging around here and the collar. So if you need, you can measure again to see if you actually got the measurement for the chest. Just finish this row so it stretches out all these chains under. It will be a bit more accurate. And I will keep going. Now when I'm going to stop when I have about 1 row worth of length left, because we're gonna do this front post, back post double crochet row at the very, very bottom of this cardigan. And don't forget your color changes if you will be doing them. I will just do my, let's see, how many rows did I get out of the first color? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows. So I will do 7 rows in the cream color, and then I will change to my light blue, and I will see whatever I get for the bottom. I don't mind the bottom being a bit more of that color or a little bit less. I'm mainly worried that these two parts will have the same amount of color. So at this point, I hope that you understand. We have been multitasking for a while now, and this is just easy. Just keep going one stitch, 1 double crochet into each stitch until we get down, and we have still 1 more row to go, and that will be our little edging on the bottom. So I will see you soon. Okay, so I did the length that I was going for. So overall, I'm looking for 15 centimeters for the length. I measured from the armhole here, and I have about 13.5 now. I will add another row of front and back post double crochets, and there will be another row of single crochets, and I will be right at the length that I want it to be. So this is the row of front and back post double crochets. Now I will be doing 2 front post double crochets, and then 2 back post, and then 2 front, and then 2 back. Now if you want it to end up perfectly for the front here, for the other side, you have to have to count your stitches, and they have to divide by 4 exactly. Now I don't mind how I will end up here. You won't be really, it will not make such a big difference. Now if you don't want to count and you don't have it doesn't divide by 4, you can do 1 front post double crochet and then 1 back post double crochet. You have much bigger chance to end up nicely on that side. But like I said, it's up to you. It will have a slightly different look, but I will be doing 2 front and 2 back post double crochets. So whichever you decide to do, you chain 1, and you make 1 double crochet back into the same stitch. And then what you want to do is you want to start with a front post double crochet. So you yarn over, put your hook in between the 2 stitches all the way to the back, and then you come out on the other side of the stitch of the double crochet from the row before, and that is the front post because it will be sticking out in the front. You catch the yarn in that side, pull it out, you have 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, and then pull through 2 again, and that is a front post double crochet. Now I will be doing 2 each, so I did 1 front, I will do another front post double crochet. Then we do back post double crochets. So what we do is we come from the back in between the 2 stitches, one is already crocheted, and we sort of go all the way around that, find it in the other side, we pull the yarn out, we have 3 loops, we yarn over, pull through 2, and pull through 2. I'm gonna do another one of those. I go from the back up all the way around it and back there again. Catch my yarn, pull it out, yarn over, and yarn over. So I have 2 front and 2 back, 2 front post double crochets and 2 back post double crochets. I yarn over, and then I'm gonna do my front. So these 2 are crocheted. I go into the one here from the top down and up again, pull it out, 2 and 2, yarn over in between the stitches like this, and then it's the 2 back, 1 and the second back from the back, like this. And then 2 for the front. Now, like I said, you can do 1 each instead of doing 2 as I am. And then back post. And we do like this all the way around. And I'm not quite sure what I will end up with, but I don't mind that at all. So this is how it looks now. And I will meet you here when I do the whole row of this. Okay, so I'm at the very end now, and what I have is 2 front post double crochets. I have made 1 back post double crochet, and I have 2 stitches left. Now, if I make a second back post double crochet here, and then it will be just a normal double crochet in the very end, I will have all this part really flat, so I don't want that. And as my multiples were wrong, I will just do 1 back post double crochet and I'll do 1 front post double crochet. You won't really be able to tell the difference, but you will have that front post at the very end, which will sort of keep this look going. So I don't mind this at all, and I'm going to do a double crochet into the very last stitch, just like that. And as you can see, this looks really nice, the edge like this. And we can start on the edging. Now at this point, it sort of depends which side you have finished on. Now if you finished on this side, under your right hand, you are gonna have to chain 1, cut your yarn, and connect your yarn under your left side, on your left side. Or you can just try and turn out your cardigan if that helps. But we have to start the edging under our left hand on this side, because we'll be doing 5 rows of the edge. So it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. And we will add a single crochet row just to make it all nice and neat at the bottom. So at this point we can start our edging now. It is important that if you have any of the sorry, I forgot what you call it, the tails left, it is quite important that you hide them now, because we need to have that edge ready. So whichever way you do it, you might be doing it in a different way than I am. I am just going into the stitch with the same color and just up 1 row, and then I just hide it in between the stitches like that. I'm not pulling hard on it. I am just going in between the stitches. So 1, and my second, I'm going into the same color, up, and then in between the stitches 1 way, and in between the stitches the other way, like that. And I just get to cut the yarn. Now our edges are ready, and we can carry on. So like I said, we start on the under our left hand on that side on our cardigan. Now because I keep going, I am connected already here. I have to make 1 chain and then a single crochet back into the side of that double crochet that I made. Now if you have had to connect here, just do exactly the same. Just single crochet at the very bottom as much as you can, like closer to the bottom. And now, as I have my stitch marker ready, now you should know where was the last row that you did your last increase on the V-neck. I did put my stitch marker in there, so I know, and I will be making single crochets all the way up to it. Now wherever you can find a nice space for it, I do, you see, this is my double crochet. I make one single crochet in the bottom of it and one single crochet in the top of that double crochet. Then I come to this, and this was our chain 1 and the stitch. So I make one single crochet in the bottom and one in the top. Then it's my double crochet. So you sort of end up making 2 single crochets in every row. So nice and neat. If you feel that it is very close to each other, one single crochet is very close to another, just maybe skip one where you would make one, just leave a little space there. You won't really be able to see it, but it's quite important that it is nice and neat and it's not pulling on itself, and it's not the main thing is that it wouldn't start curling around here when you make too much or too little stitches. So we go all the way up to our stitch marker. So I single crocheted all the way up to that row which has the stitch marker in. I'm going to take the stitch marker out, keep it, and what I do, I am going to put a half double crochet now, doing exactly like I did here, only a half double crochet, because we will make one in each row. When we finish our single crochets, we'll do a half double crochet and then start on double crochets. And now I'm going to put my stitch marker back in there, into that stitch right behind our hook, and I will start on double crochets, exactly the same, only in double crochets. And now what we have to look out for is our first corner here, because we will be doing a few decreases in this row. Now this is quite important. I find that if you don't make decreases on this sort of collar, what you end up with, I can show you an example. I have made this cardigan. This is for a baby for about 6 to 9 months, and look how big it is. I feel like this would fit, that my neck would fit in it. It just seems to stretch out a lot the bottom rows, and it just becomes really, really big. Like, it's really big. So I'm gonna have to do something with this cardigan. Just wanted to show you what happens. So we'll do a bit of decreasing, and then we will start increasing in the next row. So what we do, we get to that first corner right here, double crochet, double crochet. I'm almost there. And as this first corner doesn't have a big angle, I am going to crochet 2 together in here. So I find, let me see where I'm going to put, like this, and I find the one stitch before. So you see, this is the corner stitch. On the top we have some stitches left from the row before that. It's straight over every stitch. It's sort of a whatever is left from our chain. We're gonna crochet into them. So this is my very corner one and the one before. So I'm gonna crochet 2 together. So I yarn over, go into that first stitch, pull it out, and pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, go into that corner stitch, pull it out, go through 2 loops, have 3 loops left, and I just yarn over and go through all of them like this. Then I do 1 double crochet into over every stitch until I get to about the very middle of this over the shoulder part, and I'm gonna do 1 more decrease here, so somewhere about the very middle of that side over the sleeve. So I yarn over, go into one stitch, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and go into the next one, pull it out, go through 2 loops, and go through 3 loops. So I decreased there. And then this is the corner from my back and my over the shoulder or the sleeve part. And I'm going to crochet 3 together in there. So I look up and I find this is the corner stitch, and the one before and the one after these 3 I will crochet together. So I have 1 more stitch to go before doing that. And I'm gonna crochet 3 together. So I yarn over, I go in there in the first stitch before the corner, and I make a half of it. Yarn over, go into that middle stitch, and I make a half of it. And I do exactly the same the third time. I have 4 loops, yarn over, and pull through all of them. So as you can see, our cardigan is not lifting up, it's sort of lying down. Well, once we make this row, we can have a better look. And now I don't make, this is the back side of the cardigan, the back of the neck, and I just make 1 double crochet into each stitch here. I don't do any decreasing. Just like decreasing is like increasing. We will only do it here, this part over the sort of a shoulder or the sleeve. Oops. Like this. So I'm gonna turn off and I'll meet you right here. Okay, so the corner on the other side over the other sleeve, the first one, it's in between the back and the sleeve, and we crochet 3 together in here. Again, the middle stitch, one after and the one before. All 3 we crochet together, make a half of double crochet, then another half and another half. 3 halves like this, and we yarn over and pull through all of them. And then I do a few double crochets, and somewhere over that sleeve part, somewhere in the very middle, I will crochet 2 together. I will probably do it now. So crochet 2 together, and 1 more decrease right over that other corner in the very front here. So the corner one and the one after, we crochet them 2 together. 1 and 2. And then we keep going, with the double crochets until we get to our stitch marker. Right. 1 double crochet, like this. Try to find a good space for them, so they are equal, both sides. And then once we get to our stitch marker, so this is the row, right? So we make a double crochet into the top of that, and the one under on the other side gets a half double crochet. So it sort of goes from big to smaller and then to a single crochet. So, and a half double crochet. And then we mark that stitch right behind the very first one, just so that we can remember where our half double crochets were. And then we keep going down with 1 single crochet, just like we did in the other side. Try to keep them as equal as you can. And I will see you at the bottom of this row. Okay, so we're at the bottom of this row, and I just want to show you, look how nicely that is taking it in on the cardigan. It's not starting to to raise up, but we will do increases now, a lot of increases, where it's gonna start rolling out. But first we had to do a little bit of decreasing, just so it's not too big in here. So at the bottom, now every row at the bottom will start exactly the same. We're gonna chain one, turn around, and we will do a single crochet, one single crochet all the way up to the stitch marker, just like that. Okay, so I'm at my stitch marker. I'm gonna take it out. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna keep that stitch that had the stitch marker, make a single crochet into it, and then the next one I make is I'm gonna make a half double crochet. We're just gonna keep moving those half double crochets up towards the upper part of the cardigan. We were gonna do exactly the same on the other side. The stitch before marked, because we marked the stitch that had the half double crochet. So we're gonna make a half double crochet higher up towards the top of the cardigan. So it will be a half double crochet and the single crochets, and we'll be going down. So I made my half double crochet. I'm gonna mark it back so I know where it was. And then we start making double crochets. Now, like I said, this is the row we will be doing a good bit of increasing, and we find that place where we had the decrease before, the first corner, and we just make one double crochet until we get there. Okay, I have two more stitches, 1 and 2. Now we had a decrease here. It sort of looks like they are both, I don't know, together. They're crocheted together. Now we make 2 double crochets back into the same stitch. Then we make 1 double crochet into the next. Then we're gonna make 2 double crochets into the next stitch. I'm gonna make 1 double crochet and then 2 double crochets, and we're gonna keep doing this until we get to this back corner where we crocheted the 3 together. So I had 2. I'm gonna do 1. I'm gonna do 2. And then 1. Now I'll just see. Well, I have 1 stitch left before these 3 are crocheted together. I'm just gonna make 1 in here. You can make 2 if you want. It doesn't matter. Not too well. It doesn't matter too much anyway. And then where we did the decrease of 3, we put 3 double crochets back into the same stitch. So we sort of we bring back the same whatever we decreased, we bring back the same stitches, plus we do some increases over the shoulder, whatever you can fit in there, making an increase in every second stitch. Now the back part is only gonna get 1 double crochet each, and I do that until I get to the other corner. Just 1 double crochet. Right, so I'm at the other side. This is my back corner, and we have to mirror everything we've done on that side, so both sides look the same. So where I find that stitch where I crocheted 3 together, that's here, I have 1 more stitch before it. Just make 1 double crochet, and into that stitch, so you can see it's like 3 are jammed together, I make 3 double crochets into that, and then I'm gonna start doing the 1 double crochet, and then 2 double crochets, and 1 double crochet, and 2 double crochets, until I get to that part where I had my corner crocheted together. That's the little corner here in the top. So I'm 2, I do 1, I make 2 double crochets and see where I am. So I have 2 stitches left, just like in that side. So I'm gonna make 1 double crochet into each of them, and then it's the 2 that I had crochet together, and I'm gonna put 2 stitches back into it. And after that we make 1 double crochet until we get down to the stitch, well, sort of at the 1 stitch before the marker, because we need to do a half double crochet there. Okay, so this is my marked stitch, and the one before the marked stitch I'm gonna do a half double crochet. I'm gonna take my stitch marker out, I'm gonna put it right there into the stitch that I have just made. And then the next stitch is gonna be a single crochet, and I'm gonna do single crochets all the way down, all the way to the bottom. And then the next row we're gonna make the buttonholes. Okay, so in the start of row number 3 for the edging, now we need to mark out where our buttons are going to be. So what you do is you put it nicely, and just you have to make sure that your 2 stitch markers are at the bottom are very close to each other. I have maybe 1 stitch off on one side. That's not a problem. It's a problem if it's a big difference, that one is much slower than the other one. But if it's a small one, I wouldn't touch them. It's just to make sure that the both sides start increasing at the top at the same time. And now I'm going to find where I'm going to put my buttonhole. So I have 3. I want one to be at the very, very bottom. So I'm gonna do 1, 2 single crochets. No, maybe I'll go all the way down. I'm gonna have only 1 single crochet here, and then straight away I'm gonna have a button. And then I find I want one really close to the top. I'm gonna put it here, and then I'm just gonna go off camera and I'm gonna count these, and I'm gonna find the very middle of where I'm going to put my third. You can do more buttonholes if you want with more buttons. I just want to keep 3, so I'm gonna find the very middle in between these 2. Okay, so I marked out my buttonholes. Don't get mixed up with the 2 bottom ones. These are the buttonholes here. And what I'm gonna do, so I have already chained 1, I'm gonna turn around. I'm gonna make a single crochet right back into that same stitch. I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2. Now remember, depending on the size of your buttons that you have, you might skip more or less than I did, or do more chains. So I make 2 chains and I'm gonna skip 2 stitches. So 1, 2, and I go into the third one. I take my button, and I just need to make sure that it fits nicely, that it's not too big or not too small. So you see, this is nice. You can make 2 chains and skip 1 stitch, or just get it to fit your buttons. And then I'm gonna go all the way up to the next marker, and I'm gonna make another buttonhole. Like this. And I came to my stitch marker. I'm gonna do exactly the same as I did before. 2 chains, I skip 1, 2 stitches, and I keep doing the single crochets. Just like that, and I'm down to my third buttonhole. I'm gonna do exactly the same. I'm gonna do 2 chains. I'm gonna skip 1, 2 stitches, make a single crochet, and now I'm at my stitch marker, which marks the starting of that collar. I'm gonna take that out. Gonna take that out. Gonna make a single crochet in that. I'm gonna make a half double crochet into the next one. And I'm gonna put my stitch marker back in it. And then I'm gonna start with double crochets again. So we only make one half double crochet. It's double crochet stitch. It's just to make the so it wouldn't have such a big difference in going from single crochets straight to double crochets. It would make a little hole, well, not a hole, it's sort of a dip here. So this stitch in the length is in between the single crochets and double crochets, and it makes it look nice. So, and we double crochet, and this is the last time we're gonna do some increasing, just a tiny little bit of increasing, not much at all. And you see where our first corner were? So this stitch is going to get 2 double crochets. Now don't worry if you don't get the exact stitch, it doesn't matter, it just sort of needs to be close to that place. It doesn't matter if it's one stitch off one way or another, it will not make a difference. And I'm gonna do exactly the same thing in the over my other corners. All of them will get 2 stitches, just about over them. Do double crochets. And you see, this is my corner. This was my corner, and I just sort of go all the way straight up with the finger, and I think this stitch will get the 2 double crochets. And I make my 2 double crochets, and it's 1 double crochet into each stitch. So just to make sure that you understand that somewhere on the row 3 of our edging, somewhere in over that corner, we make 2 double crochets, and then we do a little 2 double crochet increase over that corner on the other side, and we're gonna do exactly the same on this side and this, just 2 double crochets in the same stitch. And what you just do is, once you get to your stitch marker, remember you're gonna be double crochet, you stop here before the stitch marker, then you make a half double crochet here, and you keep doing single crochets all the way down, and then you chain 1 and then single crochet all the way up, do your half double crochet, and then no more increasing. We do the row number 4 is no increasing, it's just double crochets, 1 in each stitch, and I'm going to meet you here. So I hope you understand what you're gonna do. So finish off like this. These 2 over the corners get, in this row, gets 2 double crochets in each, somewhere over these, then half double crochet and single crochet, then turn around, single crochet, and then no more increasing. And I'm gonna meet you here, and we'll see what we're gonna do with the buttonholes. Okay, so I am on the side of the buttonholes on row 4, and see is my stitch marker and the stitch before. The stitch before the stitch marker gets a half double crochet. Take the stitch marker out. I'm gonna put it back in here where I just made that half double crochet, and now I'm gonna keep making single crochets. So single, and I get to my very first buttonhole, and now whichever amount of stitches you have skipped on the bottom, so I skipped 2 stitches, I'm gonna make 2 single crochets into that chain, over that little chain. And then it's just single excuse me, single crochets all the way down to the next buttonhole. I'm gonna do this quickly now, and it's exactly the same. I skipped 2 stitches for it, so I'm gonna make it up and do 2 single crochets over that chain that I made. So, and that's how you get your buttonholes. And I'm gonna leave you now, so go all the way down, do the same, chain 1, single crochet all the way back up to the stitch marker, and we're gonna do a row of front and back post double crochets again all the way around. So I'm gonna meet you right here. Okay, last row of the edging. I am at my stitch marker. I'm gonna take it out. I'm not gonna need it anymore. Now that stitch that had the stitch marker gets a single crochet. The next stitch gets a half double crochet, and we're gonna start our front and back post double crochets. Now, as this is the side that we are gonna see, I'm gonna start with back post double crochets, and I'm gonna make 1 and 2. Then I'm gonna go for 2 front post double crochets, and exactly the same, 2 back post double crochets and 2 front post double crochets. And we keep doing that until we get to our stitch marker on the side. So all the way over to here. Right, so I did my all of my color, and I ended up with 1 front double crochet, and then I'm at 1 stitch away from the stitch marker. So I'm just gonna finish. I don't mind whatever I finish with. I don't mind that at all. I'm just gonna do a half double crochet, take the stitch marker out, and then I'm gonna do single crochets all the way down. And once I get down, I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do, right? So I'm gonna do a single crochets all the way down to this corner. Now at this corner, what I'm gonna do is, once I make the last single crochet here, I'm gonna make a chain 1 and do a single crochet, and I'm just gonna single crochet the bottom of it, the whole bottom of the cardigan, until I get to the side where my buttons are. Now, if you look at your cardigan and you feel that you would like it to go in a little bit at the bottom, what you can do is, when you make your single crochets here in every stitch, right? So single, 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 and you get to the part where there's some back post double crochets. What I am going to do, I'm going to make a single crochet here, and I am just going to skip that stitch at all. I'm not going to even do a decrease stitch. I'm just going to go from this single crochet here to single crochet here, and I'm going to do that maybe 4 or 5 times. So I would say I'm going to skip 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It doesn't have to be actually, but just try not to make them in one spot as well. And that is going to take in slightly at the bottom and give it a nice little rounder shape. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to sew my buttons in, and I'm going to turn my collar and see what I have. Okay, so I have sewn in my buttons, and I haven't tried it yet. I'm gonna put the collar down now and see what I got. Yes, I like this. This is great. As you can see, it is not very wide here, which, oops, which makes it look real nice and comfy and soft. So I did a few increases, like I said, on the bottom. So it's, you see, it has a slight sort of an angle going down, and this is how it looks at the moment. Okay, so what we have left is the sleeves. Now you might want to make a vest out of it. That would look really nice. So what you can do is you can just do a row of double crochets and then make a row of front and back post double crochets, and you are gonna have just a tiny little sort of a sleeve just going down, and you will have a beautiful vest. But I am going to make sleeves. Now sleeves are difficult to make. They're not difficult to make, they're difficult to explain. So if you look at the cardigan that I have made before, so this is the sleeve, and I didn't do any decreasing. I did two decreases in the first row, and then I did not have to do any decreasing until the very last row, and it actually looks really nice. It's just the camera is on the angle and it makes it look funny. So it's really nice and straight. It goes straight, and then it's taken in a lot at the very bottom, and it actually looks really nice. Now, as I was getting ready to make the video for this sleeve, so I was already making one sleeve, and I didn't plan to do any decreasing here, but then as I was making it, it was becoming real bulky here, and I couldn't figure out what was the problem. So after a little while, I realized that even that these three colors come from the same company, they come from the same patch, let's say they were bought at the same time, probably even made the same day. It just seems to be that the light blue is a little bit thicker than the terracotta and my cream. So just the tiny little bit of bulkiness of that here, really not pretty. So what I did 3 decreases along the way, in between, from the front to the bottom. So I'm gonna show you both ways, whichever way you like it. It has to be visually appealing as well. And but the main thing is the same, as we decrease 2 in the very beginning, and then we do a lot of decreasing at the very end of it. So, and in between, it will be up to you if you want to or not. You're just gonna have to look if you like it or not. So just like that, and we can start it in a second. Okay, so we can get started on the sleeves now. So before I forget, I want to show it straight away. So the upper arm and the wrist. So how to use these two measurements if you need them. So you look up your upper arm. My one is 15.5 centimeters. And as I have already made one sleeve, I'm just going to show you how I measure if my sleeve is going to fit me, if it's not too small. So 15.5 centimeters, as I am going to measure it flat, I am just going to put it together at 15.5 centimeters, so like this. And you see, so this is how much space I have left for the arm. So it is definitely not too small for me. And then the wrist, which is here, I don't want it to be too wide here. So I look up my wrist and it's about 11 centimeters. And I just put my measuring tape inside and see. So it is just about 6 and something centimeters in here. As I am measuring it flat, it's about 12 centimeters all the way around. And my wrist is 11 centimeters plus it actually has some stretch, so I'm quite sure that my hand is going to fit. But you will only be able to measure that once you have the sleeve made. You can measure the upper arm once you have a few rows made. just to make sure that it's, because you wouldn't really like it to be really too bulky. Like I said, that's why I did some of the decreases every third row on this sleeve, and I didn't do any on the other cardigan. It's just to sort of, I need to see how it goes, and it might look nice without decreasing as well. So what are we going to start is with we will find our stitches under the armhole. So whatever number of chains you did, you see those chains here. So I had made 3, so I have 1, 2, and 3. Now you might have had made more or less. If you have made more, it's okay. We just need to connect our yarn as much in the middle as we can. And then what we will do, we're going to decrease that very closest stitch to the corner and the bottom of this double crochet on the side here. We will do it on both sides. So I'm going to start as much as in the middle as I can. Now, if you don't have a lot of chains here, let's say you have 1 or 2, you're going to have to connect at the bottom as well. And then what you're going to do, you're going to decrease in that double crochet here on the side. That is before the corner that we did when we connected. So you're going to go in the bottom and in the top. Now, the decreasing under the arm, what does it do? It makes a sleeve go nice and straight after that. If you don't do this decrease, it sort of bulks up here. It doesn't look that nice. Well, some sleeves can go without the decreasing, but I always do the decrease, and it really looks nice just under the arm here. So I have, once I make my sleeves, once I make my first sleeve, I always write down what I do at each row and the number of stitches that I have. So because we can't always sit down and make both sleeves at the same time, and then even within an hour, sometimes you cannot remember what you did on the other sleeve before, and then the thing is, you end up having different sleeves. So what I do, I write down, so you see row number 1 on my sleeve, I did -2, that is 2 decreases, and I had 33 stitches at the end of this row. Row number 2 and row number 3 did not have any decreases, so they have the same amount of stitches. Row number 4, I did 1 decrease and I had 32 stitches, and no decreasing for 2 rows, and then again. So every third row for this cardigan, I made my decreases. And then the row just before I do the front and back post double crochets, I did a big decrease of 6 stitches, and then I did the single crochet row. So you can do the decreasing more or less depending on what shape you would like on this sleeve. Now I wanted it to be quite straight, but like I said, this color yarn was a little bit thicker, so it's kind of started going bulky on the bottom here. So I did my decreasing every third row, and I wrote that down. You can do every second row if it's really big for you here, or you can do no decreasing at all apart from the very top and very bottom. All up to you. I will show you how not to decrease and how to decrease as well. So like I said, write that down if you can. It's always very helpful. So I find my very bottom of my sleeve. I make a slip knot, and I connect as much as in the middle at the bottom as I can. Just put in my hook, because we should have another strand or 2 left from the chains that we did at the bottom, and I just pull it out like this, and I chain 2. 1 and 2. Now, next thing that we have to look is which way we should go to keep that double crochets, the right side up and the wrong side up going. So there's no difference unless you don't mind that. But I want to keep it the same as the whole other cardigan. So if you look You see, I have my right side of double crochets looking at me. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna start crocheting from the inside of the sleeve and going this way. Now, if your last row on the sleeve is sort of a, which one can I show? Like this, it kind of a looks really wavy, and because this row looks a bit more straight, and the row of the wrong side up is a bit more wavy like this. So you're gonna have to connect. If you have the wrong side up here, you have to connect and go this way around from the good side. Okay, I hope I didn't mix you up at all here. So chain 2, and whichever way you're going, I have my sort of a corner right here. I have 1 stitch at the bottom left and my double crochet, and I'm gonna crochet 2 together. So I yarn over, I go into that stitch under that I still have, I grab my yarn, I pull it out, I have 3 loops, I yarn over and I go through 2 loops. I stop, then I find my double crochet that was here before the corner that we have connected it with, and I go into the bottom of that stitch and I pull it out, I pull through 2 loops, I have 3 loops left, and I yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And I count my chain 2 in the beginning as 1, and the 2 crochet together I count as 1 stitch as well. So I have 2. I go into the top of that double crochet and I have 3. Go into that hole here, 4, and then I have stitches, and I just keep counting. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, oops, 27, 28, 29, 30, and I'm back at my corner, so 31, 32 goes into the top of that double crochet, 32, and I have my 33rd that I'm gonna crochet 2 together. That's the very side of that double crochet and the bottom stitch. I'm gonna crochet those 2 together again, just like I did on the other corner. Make a half of a double crochet, then make a half again, and I pull through it all, and I have 33. And if I look at my notes, I see that the other sleeve had 33 stitches with 2 decreases as well. So my sleeves at the moment are exactly the same. And then I connect. I skip the 2 chains that I did in the very beginning. So see, so these are the 2 chains, and I slip stitch into the very top stitch. I don't go into the chains. I do the slip stitch, and then I chain 2, 1 and 2, whichever way you're going, you are gonna have to turn around. And I have a row of without decreasing now. So if you look closely, you sort of have a hole here. Once you turn, you will always have. So there's one place here just under the chain 2 and one in front of it. One of them is a stitch, the other one is a slip stitch. Now we only need to make one double crochet in one of the sides. So I always make, once I turn around with my chain 2, I always make a double crochet in the front of it. And then when I come back to the end of the sleeve, I leave this part without a stitch. And that way I do not do any increasing, because if we will make a stitch in front of the chain 2 and in the back here, because it sort of looks like a stitch, but we don't use that, we will be increasing, and then you're gonna have like a bell sleeve or something. So no decreasing now. So I yarn over, I go straight into the front of that chain 2, and I just make double crochets all the way around. And you can count if you want, and you should have the same number if you are not decreasing. Okay, so I'm at the end of row 2 of my sleeve, and as I told you, I'm not going to put a stitch right here. If you look very closely, you can see that the chain 2 is connected to this stitch. We are just going to leave that without doing anything, and then we're gonna turn up our sleeve. Don't know how well you can see in this cream color, and I'm gonna just slip stitch to the very top, the first stitch at the very top. And I'm gonna start again exactly the same. I'm not gonna do a decrease in this row as well, so I'm gonna chain 2, I'm gonna turn around, and again, if you look closely, you have a stitch in the front of the chain 2 and sort of a little hole behind it. So I'm only going to do one double crochet in front, and without any decreasing, I will just make this row one stitch in one double crochet in each stitch, and I will meet you back here, and we will do an increase in the next row. Sorry, decrease. So I'm gonna connect again. I'm gonna look for that very top stitch, very first one, and I'm just gonna make a slip knot. I'm gonna chain 2, and I'm going to go make a decrease now. So I turn around, I yarn over, I go into that stitch in front of the chain 2, I pull out my yarn, and I just crochet a half of that double crochet. I go into the next stitch, I pull it out, I make a half of that double crochet, I yarn over, and I go through all 3 loops. And this is a decrease. This is how we're gonna decrease for the sleeve. And then it's just one double crochet in each stitch, just like we did before. And I'm going to leave you for now. I'm gonna come back when I need to do the color change for the sleeve if you're doing, and I'm just gonna make sure that you understand how that is done. But at the moment, I'm just gonna make sure. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need to make 7 rows of this color before I do my color change for the sleeve. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and I started my 5th. So I will meet you at the color change. So you decrease or don't decrease as much as you like. Just write that down so you don't forget. I've just finished my row number 7 in the cream color. I am going to slip stitch it. I'm gonna chain 1 because I'm going to do the color change now. And I'm just going to cut my yarn, leave a bit longer tail so we can hide it later, and snip it off and pull it nice and tight. So I have 7 rows, and I'm going to add my light blue color. Excuse me. And I actually have to do a decrease in this row as well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to make a slip knot. I'm going to connect it back next to that little knot that I have here. I'm gonna connect it at the behind the knot, and we're gonna have to make stitches in front and in the back of this knot as well. So my chain 2 is going to be here, and my first double crochet is going to be here. Actually, I'm going to crochet the next 2 together because I'm doing a decrease. If you're not doing a decrease in this row, just make 1 double crochet. So I leave my knot on the inside of the sleeve. I'm gonna chain 2, 1, 2, and I'm gonna turn around because I need to go on the inside of the sleeve now. I'm gonna crochet over that strand for a little bit, and I yarn over. I go back into behind that little knot. It's not very easy to see, into that stitch right behind it, and I'm gonna do a decrease straight away. So just like we did before, and into the next stitch, and I crochet those together. And then it's the same as we did before. 1 double crochet in each stitch. When I get back here, I'm going to connect into the very first stitch, and then we crochet for as long as we need to. Now, when do we need to stop? We need to stop when we have about 2 rows worth of length left, because we need to do a decrease on the row, on the sort of a third last row, because this is going to be the decrease row. Like, we're gonna do a big decrease to make the sleeve smaller at the end. Then we're gonna do, this is the row of front and back post double crochets, and the third row is the single crochet row. So I'm gonna do, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows, and rows 6, 7, and 8 I will come back and show you these. So, and if you measure, you're gonna have to imagine that you're gonna have to get that length. So just leave a little bit of space at the end of it, and I will be back to show you the end of the sleeve. Okay, so I am 3 rows away from finishing my cardigan, and as you can see, the sleeve is really quite flat. Even I did do a few of the decreases, it's still, it doesn't have that lovely shape. So the next row, so we should have about 3 rows left, about like this much length left for the cardigan. Now, if you, I actually never told you, if you measure your cardigan from the armhole down, so I need another about 2 centimeters. So I'm gonna actually get a bit longer sleeve that I was going to get, but that is okay. I don't mind. So you measure from the armhole all the way to here, and then, so you see, I'm gonna have another 2.5 centimeters added at the end. So I'm gonna have about 16.5, where I wanted about 16. If I have forgotten to show you, these are the sleeve lengths for every size. So you see, about like that. Okay, so the point of this now decrease is to take in quite a lot, so it gives it a nice little closing at the end of the sleeve. It's kind of a taken in. What we're gonna do, we're gonna decrease here. I have 30 stitches at the moment, counting the chain 2. Now, for making the front post and back post double crochet row, that is, if you do 2 front posts and 2 back like I did, we need to have the end, at the end of the next row, we have to have the amount of stitches that we can divide by 4. That divides by 4 exactly. So as I have 30 stitches, the next number, the lower number that divides, is 28, which means I should take 2 stitches off. It's not gonna make a big difference. You won't be able, you wouldn't be able to see the decrease if you only take 2 stitches. So I'm gonna, so the next number after the 28 that divides by 4 is 24, which means I need to decrease by 6 stitches in the next row, so I could have a nice front post and back post double crochet row. So I will do that. I will do 6 stitches. Now remember, you might have different number right here. It's just at the end of this row now. We're just getting ready to do the row of front and back post double crochets. We have to have a number that divides by 4. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna chain 2, 1, 2, and I'm like I said, I'm going to decrease by 6. I'm not gonna count which places I am going to do the decreases in. I am just going, if you look at like this, right? So I am going to do 1, 2, 3 decreases on one side, sort of if you put it together like this, and 1, 2, 3 at the other side. I'm just gonna try to keep the distance in between pretty much the same, but it will not make a big difference if you make more slightly bigger spaces in between a few of them. It's just we need to lose some stitches here. So I have chain 2, gonna make a stitch right under it, and then I'm going to skip. I'm not gonna crochet them together. I'm just going to literally skip a stitch. So that will be my 1 decrease. I'm going to go into the next one. So I made 1. I'm gonna go a few stitches forward. I'm gonna skip my second time. It's like my second decrease. And I am going to make a few stitches. And I will do my third decrease. So you can see it's little holes, 1, 2, and 3 decreases. I'm gonna make a few stitches. And I'm gonna do my 4th decrease. Make a few stitches. My decrease number 5, and I need 1 more. And I'm going to make my decrease number 6. Just skip that stitch, and I crochet my last one, and I leave that one again, that one next to the chain from one side, and I slip stitch. I chain 2. Now I'm pretty sure, if I counted everything right, I have the 24 stitches now, which divide by 4 beautifully. So I'm not gonna turn around anymore. I want my front and back post double crochets to be facing out. So yarn over, go into that first stitch, and I'm just gonna do 1 front post double crochet and the second front post double crochet, 1 back post double crochet and the second. We made them before, so I'm not gonna be all slow right here. So, but if you have made because I did say that you can make 1 front, 1 back here or wherever, you should make it the same on the sleeves. It just will look a bit nicer. So 2 back and 2 front. So I'm gonna finish this, and I'm gonna come back at the end of this front and back post row. Oops, sorry. At the end of this row, we should have 1 stitch left and the chain 2 in here. We're not gonna touch the chain 2. We're just gonna go on the back post double crochet, just make 1, because that chain will be lying down, sort of a back like the back post double crochets. So it will make the same pattern. And we just slip stitch, just like that. And it's one row of single crochets left, one in each stitch. If you feel that you need to decrease a little bit more, you can skip a couple of single crochets. If I would be skipping, I would skip one of the back post stitches. I would just go into the next one, and you wouldn't be able to see that there is a stitch missing, and it would close in even a little bit more. You still have to make sure though that the hand of the baby or the child will fit through the end of the sleeve here. So one single crochet and we are done. This is my second sleeve. You might still have another sleeve to finish, but my cardigan only needs a few tails to hide, and I will be done. Now come back. Once you come back, you just slip stitch into the very first stitch. It might be hard to see. Just make a slip stitch, chain one, cut your yarn, leave a little tail for sewing in, pull it tight, and I'm just gonna show you quickly what I do with the tails again. I did show that before. Now to hide nicely that knot, I just go into that stitch right under it, like this, and then I go back up again, and the third time I go down, and that tail is secure in there. And now if you did the color change in the middle of the sleeve, you're gonna kind of hold down the sleeve and pull on it a little bit. It will take away that little bulkiness of where we have switched our colors, like that. And then I'm just gonna hide the tails in between the stitches of the same color. Go back and forth as much as you feel you need to. But I know I had knots on these tails, so I'm not too worried. They are not gonna come out. And my last tail. Make sure you don't sew it all the way through. And my cardigan is done now. And this is what I end up with. Sorry about the swinging camera here. Like this, you see, 2 sleeves, collar, and I think it turned out pretty nice. I hope that you sort of found it not very difficult, because well, I thought it will be easier to explain, but I always seem to have something else to add and to say, so I was talking a lot. And this is it. This is our V-neck baby cardigan. Please give me thumbs up if you did like it. Comment, ask me questions. I love reading comments. And I will wish you good luck, and bye for now.